Okay, so just doing a little follow-up from that oil analysis we did about a week or so ago. I think we are coming up into this sort of range around here at this time. And I was still saying that, look, short term you can see this little line coming down here. I made it a bit easier to sort of actually put sellers, 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 but, obviously this is just resistance. As you can see, sellers are pushing this one down here, and this is going back to July. So this is what we call sort of more sort of medium term kind of sort of stuff with it all. Um, However, we got the break. This is a big push up out here, as you can see. Sort of like, it's a little test up above it, but as soon as it went, bang, went right up there, and quite just as quickly, almost it got sort of slapped on the nose and bang, back down. So it's sort of retesting the top side of where we had this sort of falling resistance here. So from a technical standpoint, this is how breakouts work. You get your breakout, you get your back test, and then your confirmations, obviously, above that level of where we sort of had the breakout candle. So the breakout move comes back here, people jump on, they say, wow, it's breaking out, slams back down here, stops them all out. Oil is absolutely, like, this is where my sort of idea of this kind of sort of, uh, let's just burn you out till you got nothing left and then you see the move happen, idea came from trading oil a couple of years ago. But so personally, I don't sort of trade oil too much, but the point is still the same. And this is typically how breakouts work. As I said, this is on a daily here at the moment. So if we jump onto a 4 hour, you can see you go to breakout, little back test, right up here, and then boom. All the people that just waited for the breakout or waited for that sort of like higher high after the breakout, people that sort of just buy here and then put the stops to even, well, boom, they're out and they've either made no money or they've been come down here. And it's really sort of, I mean, from the highs, what did it get to? So it got to 78.40, then goes back down to 71. Like that's a 700 point drop from this move here. So unless you sort of bought these big support areas down here, a lot of people that sort of buy the breakout, they just get hammered. And this is why a lot of people don't really tend to sort of make too much money, in my opinion, anyway. But as I said, that's on the 4 hour. So if we get back to what we're looking at, say daily wise in that, because oil's one of these things. If you try trade it on too small a time frame, like perfect example I just showed then, it can flick around so much. And unless you got small positions with wide stops, it's going to clip you out, and it's an incredibly frustrating thing to trade. So small positions, wide stops, trade higher time frames, and just kind of ignore the fluctuations a little bit. Sort of similar to copper in that way. Like you can't really sort of like you can, but it's very finicky and very tough to sort of trade these things on smaller time frames and that unless you're really rocketing the sort of entries as well. But what we're sort of seeing at the moment is obviously, look, we got the breakout and we sort of go, okay, where have we seen the sellers most previously above these areas? Obviously here, exactly where we'd marked it out. We said the sellers are sitting here. We can see them, they're pushing down here. And this is exactly where the sellers stepped in here again. And this is what I say, things don't generally tend to break out sort of first time. They don't break out and just run. They'll break out, back test, maybe stuff around a couple of times and then sort of run. So, there's no sort of shocker that, it found a little bit of resistance up here. People that sort of been holding, through these areas, they're just like, okay, look, that's a pretty decent trade. Look, as I said, all the way down, bang, bang, and then all the way back up, for a little, August 27th, so, month long hold or so. You know, not so bad, like particularly if people got in, as I said, down the bottom areas over here. So it's no sort of shocker that sort of like, it came back up here and found resistance. Like from a technical standpoint, that's how it works. If you go to the horizontals and, that's exactly where the sellers were. So the fact that it's been knocked back down isn't like, oh my God, game's over. We got the back test. As you can see, it's actually trying, and it just took out the previous daily candle wick highs there. So this is an interesting area, 74.40, 74.40, thereabouts kind of thing, 74.20, 29 now. This area is, excuse me, it's interesting because you want to sort of see a nice, solid, concise break above that yesterday's high because obviously it was selling down, overshoot, comes back up. You want to see this leg start to happen now. So as it does move up higher, if presuming we do, I mean, if you look at this with the RSI, it is a little bit overbought and it is tipping down a little bit here. We got CPI coming out soon as well, which I think will sort of factor into this a little bit. As I said, I don't trade oil enough to know how temperamental it is with CPI. I would say not so much as sort of like sort of DXY and these sort of things, of course. But yeah, again, all the flows are always moving around the market from market to market. So things do get affected. It's just a matter of how much they're affected. But the point being, at the moment, what you want to see is a nice easy break above this previous daily high. Looks like a fairly nice move up to 77 potentially here. And then what you want to see is a depletion of these sellers, because they came in here and they took their profits, or they shorted it, or whatever they did, and they knocked it back down and it came all the way back down here. You want to see a break above there. You want to see that the portion of the market that said, look, wow, 78, that's good for me, and I'm just going to hammer it, or I'm going to take my profit there. You want to see that portion of the market's not there, because otherwise, you just end up potentially with something kind of at best like this, and it just ends up sort of ranging and sort of consolidating on the outside of this breakout. You want to see a nice clear break up atop here. But even as we do go up, now this is where it sort of shows the upside could be a little bit limited, is that we do then fall into this, run into this falling resistance. So we got a small sort of falling resistance here, which is going back to July, and that's fine, and it does its bit. This one here started from back in September 23. And this is what, if you look at the last analysis I said, this is what the sellers are doing. You can see them, bang, they're stepping down, they're stepping down, they're stepping down. So the question is, if we get up to sort of test this line where we can see the sellers are putting pressure to the downside with it, is it going to sort of buckle, and is it going to sort of just go there and do what it has done in the past, which every time it's hit this line, it's sold down heavily. Hit this line, sold down heavily. Hit this line, is it going to come down to sort of 66, 67? That's the question. And I think this is where sort of like, what's going on in the Middle East potentially could be the driving force to sort of get this through and get it to a breakout. Because as you're coming into a technical area, these things tend to sort of magically line up around the same time. That just happens to be some news that drops, and that bang shoots it out. So again, look, same thing here. We saw the sellers, they knocked it back down. You come up here, you've got a confluence then as well, because you've got this big falling resistance through here, which we've seen from, as I said, September 23. So, 13 months or so we're looking at now. So it's quite substantial. Higher time frames, going to be stronger. You've also got these previous highs over here. So similar sort of thing where we saw the highs here, they knocked it back down. There's people that would be sort of going, yep, that's fine, I'll buy the pullback here. They're looking for a target, over here as well. So it confluences the two breakdowns of the chart that intersect at the same point. You've got two segments of the market, because not everybody's trading this setup. Not everybody's trading this thing. Some people are just trading levels. Like, you know what I mean? You've got so many different participants in the market. You can't just sort of go, oh, look, it's it. But if you have, multiple ways of analyzing the chart and they all kind of lead to the same point, that's a confluence, and there's a higher probability that you're going to see a reaction there. So if we do see something like that, potentially what we look for is the pullback to exchange this resistance to then become support, because resistance is support. It's the same thing. It just depends what angle you're coming at it. Something like this. And if we can get a rally here, or even if we get, this come down a little bit further, whatever, as long as we rally and we stay above, say, 71 lows on that, pullback, and have another run at this, because you see how far the touches are between here. I mean, this touch here is at April, sold all the way down, came back up, didn't come back up for July for 3 months. So we're getting at a point now, and this is why people say it gets down to the pointy end, because there just isn't enough time to do another 3 months. Well, there is actually, you could come down here and then you could come back up over here. So there is time, because this is a high time frame thing. But the point being is, if you hit it here and then you hit it, a week or 2 weeks later or something like this, that's showing that, buyers are hungry for it and the pressure is building. You've then got to get through this falling resistance, that previous high, and we move up and we look for the next previous highs, which are these levels over here, these sort of sellers. Again, come back down. See what I mean? It's the same price action, the same flow. You're not looking for anything new. It's just the same price action, the same flow each time. You break out. Where are the sellers going to be? Most likely they're going to be here. Where if we come back, and then we go again. Where's the next likely level that if we see that the sellers at this level are depleted, where's the next likely area? And we know because we look back on the chart and we look what is the most recent area that it got sold down from. That is what is your resistance. That is why we have our price target here, based on the idea that you can get a push up here, pull back, and then a push up here. So look, on a good run, I could see this going to 84. Look, it may, like, this little line is not necessarily a timeline. It's more just sort of like price levels and potential flow of the price action. But there's a possibility that, you could push up towards 84, particularly if you get through this big falling resistance. Watch the people that trade oil and the talk around the technical side of it, because this falling resistance here will be mentioned quite a lot, I guarantee, because it's quite significant and it's gone for quite some time. So I do think there is upside potential with it. Obviously, again, Middle East situation. I think that's affecting oil more than it's affecting, say, gold. I think gold markets kind of sort of shrugged that off, but oil's still a possibility. So we have to sort of say, but I think so. Look, even if this does come up here and then say it fails and comes down back down here, I still think that the downside is somewhat limited because you can see how strong or how many times this support level has held. Like this previous, like sort of super strong resistances, resistance, support, 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 support. If you do break down here, that's a big break. You're going to see some big pushes down in oil. Like you're going to go down to 44. I don't know exactly the scenario we'd be looking for to get that break, but I don't think that's about to happen. So I kind of disregard that. I think this is more the play to look at for the moment. So, you're looking for test of 77, you're looking for a break of 78.40, you look for a test of, call it 80, because it's a big round. And that's another thing as well. Maybe people just trading the number. There's 80, there's your falling resistance, there's your horizontal. There's a number of factors that I think will make that a perfect little price target for, this leg through here, should it happen to get on a bit of a roll. I don't think it's just going to carve through and go up to 84. Look, it could, definitely could. Anything's possible. But to me, just on a sort of technical breakdown, I don't think that's necessarily the way it's going to happen. Unless you get something that, like we saw the other day, and, people are threatening to bomb Iran's oil things and Biden's blabbering about something. If you get something that's not sort of normal price action flow, those things don't respect charts. Like that's a different ball game, and that's the thing. This is normal price action through the flow, through normal stuff. A bit of news comes out, you move up here a little bit, you come back, and so, like, you know what I mean. But if somebody comes out there and just blows up a whole bunch of the oil things, these lines mean nothing. It could just go up here to 86. It could go to 90. But in a normal sort of flow with price action, this is the cause that I'd be looking for with it. I think if you get down underneath 71.52, yesterday's lows, you could kind of call this a little bit of a dribble fail down here. But the fact that it's moved outside this and back tested, I think that's got to be respected. So I think, you've got upside here, you've got potential range play here, and then on a lower side, I would say you have a failed breakdown down here. They're your three kind of outcomes through here, in my opinion. All right, that's it from me.